Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the new CBL X's and O's podcast for season 2023. Matt Royal, CBL League Manager here, and in this episode, we are set to discuss and preview the Gippsland Conference. And joining me today, I have Reese Hamriding from the Traralgon T-Birds men's team. Welcome, Reese.
Hey Matt, how you doing?
Going well, mate. You ready to preview the CBL competition, especially the Gippsland Conference, which kicks off this coming weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. Pumped for it. Some exciting names into the league, so looking forward to it.
We'll start off with the Gippsland women, and we can't go past the reigning champions, the Canberra Wildcats, who finished last season second on the ladder over the head-to-head classification with the runners-up. But how do you see Canberra women looking this season?
Look, for the past few seasons, they've always been the benchmark. There. Chloe Hogg obviously is a big part of that, and the young core that they've got around them as well is pretty exciting. So yeah, I'd say they're probably definitely a favourite this season.
Definitely coming off their under-18 girls winning the Division 1 title this year. 16 girls won the Division 1 title last year. They're going to be there for sure with their young group. Our runners-up from last season, Moe Meteors. Now, how do you see them going this season?
Moe's that type of club, where you just don't know what you're going to get sometimes, and I think they've built a lot of consistency the past few seasons. So I'd say they'll be looking to go one up this year and try and get to that trophy.
For sure, they've had a couple of transfers in, which is only putting more stock to their team. Southern Penn, who finished 10th last season. Hopefully they can improve this season. Got any word on them?
Yeah, look, from last season, they were a very young squad, very, very young. So I'm sure that, that it's only up for them coming into this season. So that will be exciting to watch to see how they develop.
For sure. It's always good to use the CBL competition to get a couple of their young kids into senior basketball and hopefully promoting them through to the Big V ranks at the Southern Peninsula Sharks. Pakenham, the 9th place team last season, have been a little bit talking on the socials that they've got a team that potentially can contend this year. How do you see them going?
Yeah, they've got some handy inclusions. Hayley Letts, from their champ women, and I think Ebony Sands as well. I do apologise if I butchered that. But yeah, look, some exciting inclusions from their team list, and I'd say that they're a team to watch, especially coming through that middle of the pack.
For sure. And Warragul in the women, they've got a pretty extended list this season, probably one of the biggest lists that we've seen in the Gippsland Women's Conference for a long time. And how do we feel that they're going to go?
Yeah, definitely a top 4 contender. Some exciting names on that list. And, look, I think they're just another team hunting, to go one up as well this season.
For sure. And Brad Roofing coaching again. He'll get the girls drummed up into the right playing styles and will push the team further, I believe. So Wonthaggi just missed out on finals last year, had a slow start to the season, which in the end cost them. How do you see them potentially going?
Look, I think, again, another contender. They've shown that they can compete and really run with most teams. And I'd say that they'll definitely be in that contention again.
For sure. And we welcome more women back to the competition. They've been out of the competition for a couple of years, but it's good to have both their men's and women's teams back this year. So a couple of local kids and a few different names. How do you see them potentially going?
Yeah, I think they've put a nice list together this season. And, obviously Abby Noblet coming back for them is a huge in. And definitely they've got some young pieces around there that they'll sure they'll be quick up and down the floor.
And your association, Traralgon, finished 3rd last year, just couldn't get over the line in the semi-final against Canberra on their home court. How are they shaping up?
Yeah, really good list coming together. Definitely nearly as better as last, I reckon, last season. Big in is Jordan Pyle, returning from the States, and really going to, bring that huge presence. And obviously, we can't look past Sammy LaBrosse as well. That's been a dominant force since she entered CBL. So, yeah, I'd say we're shaping up pretty good.
And the South Sonics finished sixth last season. Had a bit of a younger side, I would say. How do we feel that they're going to go?
Yeah, another young squad, coming through and developing. And I just generally think that they'll compete. Sales always had that nature about them as an association, and I'd say it'll be no different this season where they'll, trying to do one up again.
And Mafra, who are coming off the semi-final loss to the Moe Meteors, who end up runners up. Got another long list here again this season. They just seem to have players keep rocking up and keep turning up, and the list keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, absolutely. What else can you say about Afro? Always competitive, very fearless as well. So I'd say they're definitely trying to hunt for that, definitely a playoff spot.
And down at the beach at Lakes Entrance, they're finished eighth last season with a 3-7 record and showed a bit of promise last season from the previous season. How are they going to do the same again, or where do they sit?
Yeah, I think they'll do better this year. I think they'll just start finding their grounds and their cores, and I think, I think they'll be exciting watch this season.
It will be exciting. The women's competition, from what we've just discussed there, it sounds like it's going to be very close, and games early on are going to really count to ensure you can get that top four finish. Only 4 teams get through out of the 11, so it'd be interesting to see how the competition goes, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing more that we want is a competitive season, and you don't know which way it's going to go coming to the finals end of the season, and I think we're in for an exciting season.
Beautiful. And now we'll move across to the Gippsland men's competition, which sees your team, the reigning champions Traralgon, went 9-1 last season with you at the head coach. You've taken a back seat this season. How's Traralgon shaping up?
Yeah, we're shaping up really good. Again, a few guys that are not committed this season, but that's okay. We've got a lot of guys that are there in that depth for waiting for that major role. So yeah, we're shaping up and we're ready to go for another shot at hopefully a three-peat.
And the Mafra Eagles have been there playing against you guys the last couple of seasons. Quite tight tussles. How do you see them matching up this season?
Well, look, we get them in the semi-final. In the first season I was there, and they were just as competitive with the Whelan boys and and Quirk, and last season they had the addition of Elliot, which changed up their everything when we played against them, and we got them in the grand final there. But look, another exciting team that definitely not that far away from getting that cup again.
And the Lakes Entrance Pelicans finished on the bottom of the ladder. Little bit of a disappointing season last year without a win. I'm sure they can get a win this season with the list they've put together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think towards their last season, towards that half, then they were very competitive and only lost a few games by a few points or within 10 points or so. So I think it's just again they're just finding their rhythm, and I think they'll do one better this season.
And we'll travel down the highway a little bit further for the next team, which is Sale. They finished 10th. They got the one win against Lakes last season. Again, probably rolling with a bit of a younger list again. They haven't provided us our list yet, but how do you see them potentially going?
Yeah, young team with a few older heads running around with them. I think they're just guiding them through there, and I think they're going to be an interesting watch this season with what they can do.
And Morwell, we welcomed them back into the competition last season. They only could manage 4 wins. They've got a long list of 16 players listed so far for this season. Where do we see them, and how do we see them going?
Yeah, I see them definitely, nipping at the heels of a playoff spot. Obviously John Canavan back there, running around and being the captain of that helm, I would say. And yeah, look, I think they'll do one better than what their first season was, and be really, really competitive.
And Moe Meteors last season just couldn't get the job done in the semi-finals against Mafra. Very similar list from what I'm seeing so far. How do we feel that they're going to go?
Well, with the inclusion of Austin Shelley again, which is an exciting prospect, and obviously Wiz and O'Brien there as well. Look, they'll be tough to come up against every weekend. And I'd say that they're looking to go that one better, and really try and cap off an unreal season.
Austin Shelley was a gun last season, and he's only had even more court time in NBL1 this current season. So it'll be amazing to see what he can do after having a full season at NBL1 of reasonable court time.
Yep.
We move forward to Warragul, who you guys pipped in the semi-final on your home court. How do we feel they're going to go?
Looking at their team list, it looks like they've come in strength of numbers. Some big bodies as well, and look, I definitely think they're just another team, just nearly got their hands around it, and I think they're going to be extremely tough to go up against this season.
And Pakenham, could only get the 2 wins last year, but similar to the men's, they've got a few inclusions this year, and it looks like they're going to go a little bit further than what they did last year.
Yeah, absolutely. A few guys that have come in, more senior guys, from the looks of it, and yeah, they'll be a team that definitely sits around the middle, if not chipping at the heels. I think they've put a very, very competitive list together.
And Southern Peninsula couldn't get the job done to make it into the finals last year, just missing out that one more win to get in. How do we see them looking this year?
Yeah, down that way, they always string a group of guys, and of course their women, so young and competitive. Obviously seeing a name on there that gives all of us coaches a nightmare is Corey Hastings. Kid is just very durable, and he's just explosive. So he'll be leading looks like a very young Southern Penn squad this season.
And we jump across to South Gippsland with Wonthaggi, finishing with a 5-5 record last year. So they come out at a 50% win rate. How do we see them going?
Yeah, another team not to sleep on. Extremely tough, physical. They love the running game. And look, in their season, they got a few teams that probably didn't expect it. And look, I would say that they're as long as their list is there, then I think they'll be up there for sure.
And Coonabarra were a very similar team last year, had the 500 record at 5-5. They're going to be one not to sleep on, that's for sure.
Yeah, again, another player that kind of gives you nightmares. Vin Monahan. If he's definitely committed and playing the whole season, they're just going to be as dangerous with the other players that got around them. So yeah, definitely not one to sleep on either, and always going to be a tussle.
So round 1 kicks off this Saturday night. We see Sale hosting Coonabarra, which will be a great tussle to start with. And then we've got Traralgon hosting Lakes Entrance in conjunction with the Mall Junior Tournament. So the crowd will be packing into the Old Court one. I believe we're on Saturday night. So that'll be good to have the stands full. We then move over to Morwell, who are hosting Mafra for their local tournament, which will be great. The stands will be full there. It'll be a great atmosphere. And then we've got also on Saturday night, we've got Southern Penn hosting Warragul, which that's going to be probably match of the round, I reckon, between them two teams. It's going to be a really good, tight tussle. And then on Sunday, your boys, Traralgon, travel over to Coonabarra. Hopefully you can get the win and not have them jump you. And we also have Moe taking on Pakenham. So really exciting games of basketball. Gippsland Conference has both men and women teams from all associations that we've mentioned. So it's the only conference in the CBL competition that has men's and women's for every team. So it's going to be great. Double headers for all games, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's exciting for the Gippsland region, especially with those games that are on the Morwell tournament weekend, for those younger generations to kind of see the pathway of, it's just not always, have to be at the highest level you can play, or, you can always run around in CBL and lead on to Big V. I think it's just a exciting times for Gippsland, and, it's only going to get bigger and better.
It sure is. And unfortunately, Wonthaggi have the bye this week, so we don't actually get to see them in action, but looking forward to them taking the court in round 2, which will be great to see. So that pretty much wraps up our first episode of the CBL podcast. I want to thank you, Reese, for joining us. And, we're going to be dropping a round preview weekly, as well as a round review each round. So look forward to catching up with you for the rest of the season. And make sure we all stay tuned in and tune in for next week to ensure we don't miss any CBL news. So for now, goodbye.
Thanks, Matt.